We're in the sport mode, as you can see, because the gauge cluster is red, and we'll get our acceleration here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2022 Toyota Corolla XSE. First and foremost though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Toyota here in Murray for giving me some time with this Corolla. Check out their inventory link below. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through a CVT automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 31 around town and then 38 in the highway, with power outputs being 169 horsepower and then 151 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front end of the XSE Corolla. So first off, you guys can see we've got the nice body lines on the hood. We've got the LED accent lights with the projector bulbs. Look absolutely fantastic. Always been a fan of this. Got your normal Toyota logo right down there, and then look at all the accenting here off to the side. I think that looks great. And then alongside the grille as well, they kind of continue that. And yeah, other than that, that is everything for the front end of the XSE. Now coming around the side here, we've got two 25mm tires wrapped around 18-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And then I love what the trim looks like there at the front, kind of like contrasting to the wheels themselves. But yeah, really cool design with that. And then also the trim off to this side that kind of contrasts the rest of the car. We've got our two-tone mirrors right there. Blacked out trim around the windows. And then you guys can probably see there's a sunroof at the top. But that's all for the side. Now let's pop here into the cargo area. You guys can see we've got the Corolla floor mat right there. And then underneath you guys can see we've got the flat loading floor. And other than that, I mean, for being a small car, it's actually got a decent amount of storage space here in the trunk area. And with all that being said, well, so yeah. Now let's finish things up here with the rear of the XSE. So first off, we've got this blacked out spoiler at the top. We've got our XSE badge right there. The two exhaust tips at the bottom. That design that was on the front, they continue it here to the back, and it is just above the rear diffuser, and yeah, looks really good. And I love this with the taillights, how they have it go and connect, kind of like what you have on the Avalon, for example, but that's all for the back. Now here's the door panel on the rear. First off, I actually got this really nice leather with the blue stitching. I love the look of that. And then you guys can see the seats, combination between the leather and then the cloth there in the middle. Looks great. And then we'll pop in quickly. There's legroom. Headroom a little bit more on the tight side. And then you guys can see the storage space right there. And then we've got this that pulls out to be a couple of cup holders, and let's head to the front. Now here's the door panel at the front. So again, we've got the trim right there with the blue stitching, and then notice the metallic trim that goes throughout with the blacked out trim. And then we've got adjustments for the mirror, Corolla plaque. And then here is the front seat. So really nice bolstering with the cloth trim. And then you got the adjustments there on the side of the seat. And then you guys can see the pedals down below with our Corolla floor mat. And then you guys can see the release there for the trunk, and then the gas. Steering wheel is manually adjustable, and there's one more look before we pop in. So here is the steering wheel with the Corolla. We've got really nice leather all around the steering wheel with the blacked out stitching in the center portion. We've got our lane keep assist and the cruise control, volume and voice command controls on the other side, phone controls, all that fun stuff. Paddle shifters there on the back for that CVT. Got the light / turn signal stock, windshield wiper stock, and that's all. Here's the gauge cluster, which is pretty fun with all of the blue accenting, and then there's some different menus you can scroll through there in the center that give you different bits of information on the Corolla itself. And aside from that, right, pretty standard gauge cluster, just looks cool and futuristic, I guess, with, again, kind of like the blue undertones. Now I've got the center infotainment system here. First off, if we pop it into reverse, you've got a backup camera. If I turn the steering wheel, the trajectory lines do not turn. But yeah, really good camera overall. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time is really good with the controls here on the side, and then also with the infotainment system itself, response time is great. And I mean, other than that, pretty simple unit. Hazard lights right here in the middle of the vents, I think it's funny. And then here's the climate control. You do have automatic climate, but it's just a single zone. It is a small car, so you don't really need dual zone. And then notice here we get a wireless phone charger, and then on top of that we've got heated seats. We're living the life of luxury. We have our sport mode, which when you press, it'll pop on there, and notice it turns red because sport mode is supposed to be aggressive. Got the shifter for that CVT, and then also stability control in front, parking brake. We've got our auto hold right there. And then we've got a couple of cup holders. Notice more of that blue stitching, which I love. Little charging area inside of the center console, and then they've got like thread throughs for the cables. Soft touch here at the dash, and then coming down to the glove box, you guys can see the storage space right there. And then also Look at that for the sound system. That looks pretty cool. Finishing things up here at the top, we've got a sunroof, just a traditional sunroof. So you just manually do the shade and then the controls the sunroof are right there. Traditional mirror, and well, that's all. Now here's our window sticker on the Corolla. Feel free to freeze a frame if you want to read all the equipment that this one comes with. You guys can see the base MSRP, and then after all the options on this particular one, you guys can see the total MSRP $29,222. Pretty interesting price. And then, wait for it, let's take it out and see how it drives. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. You guys can see visibility of the hood. Both the mirrors, I do have blind spot monitoring. And then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. Setting off here in the Corolla XSE. And first off, let's talk about the road noise and ride quality. So it's pretty smooth, but I actually just drove a couple of Camrys before this. And I will say, the Camrys do drive quite a bit smoother compared to the Corolla, which makes sense, they're bigger cars. Thought I'd mention that. But still good daily driver, but definitely kind of, you feel a little bit more in this compared to the Camry. So I guess if you wanted something at a relatively similar price point actually that rides smoother, then go for the Camry instead of this. But aside from the ride quality, road noise, pretty minimal. I rated it average for the segment. But this is one thing that you get that is a benefit over the Camry, is the handling. So yeah, it's a lighter car, it's a smaller car, turn-in's great. Yeah, it kind of has that just sporty feel. And even though it has less power than the Camry, it just kind of just punches through with what it does have. It does a really good job overall from a power perspective. But yeah, initially, good daily driver car, and yeah, we'll see what the acceleration's like in a little bit. We're in the sport mode, as you can see, because the gauge cluster is red, and we'll get our acceleration here. Pretty interesting. So again, I just drove a Camry right before this. The Camry I drove right before this one was the all-wheel drive with obviously the 4-cylinder. Then I drove a hybrid before that. What I will say from an acceleration standpoint is it feels pretty similar to the Camry with the all-wheel drive and the 4-cylinder engine. So it's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. Pretty similar from an acceleration standpoint to that. But yeah, for the segment, it's right where it needs to be from an acceleration standpoint. I'm actually just gonna put it back into the, well, it'll go into eco mode because I'm trying to save on fuel. Until you punch it down, then it's technically in the quote-unquote normal mode. But yeah, does a good job, and I guess that'll get us into setting things up here with the Corolla. So first off, you guys know I am a huge fan of Corolla styling, especially in hatchback form. This one's the sedan. I still think it looks good, but I think the hatchback, just, that is the sweet spot. That thing looks fantastic. And then interior wise on this, it's great. The seats are really nice, they're really comfortable. It comes with a bunch of nice safety tech as standard, as you can see, because I went over the lane a little bit right there. And gets great fuel economy. But there is kind of like a blaring issue here, and that is the fact that I just reviewed a Camry with all-wheel drive, and it was like $30,000. This one's almost $30,000. So like, for pretty much the same money, you can get a Camry that has a similar amount of acceleration, more space, all-wheel drive. And so it's kind of like, it's difficult for me. It's like, why would you get the Corolla over the Camry? I guess if you want like the lighter weight feel and the sportier driving, then yeah, it makes sense. But if you just kind of want like the best bang for your buck, it seems like the Camry is there, because like the interior is just as nice, and yeah, your fuel economy is a little bit less, but it's not a huge difference. And so yeah, I love this Corolla, but I'd rather get that all-wheel drive Camry that I filmed today over this Corolla, and it has an 8-speed automatic. So yeah, it seems like the Camry's just winning, I guess. But yeah, that's the Corolla. Now let's get some things up for our video on this 2022 Toyota Corolla XSE. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Toyota here in Murray for giving me some time with the Corolla. Check out the inventory link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.